Well, the idea is to try and stream it, but I don't get an internet connection on my phone. This isn't very good. The angle's not great on it either, because it's designed to go on a windshield. So
Yeah.
So actually,
Question, but the other way down. So point upwards, like turn the whole
thing around.
Makes sense. Having nicely taped it
down. See, I had Greg's one that I was using yesterday, and I was like, but now I can't find it, which is a bit of a fail, because I've now lost his as well as. I've got tripods. If I'd planned this a bit better, so I tried to do it from a proper camera yesterday, but the sound just wasn't working. If we don't get it working, we don't get it working as well.
Make me less nervous. I'm still walking a line.
Still walking a line.
At work, it's much easier than it was.
Is it less of a line than last time?
Much less so, yeah. Should have point that in the right direction before I take it down.
Yes, today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Okay.
And that's
Paul's running a bit late.
Paul.
Georgie. Georgie. Yeah. So he's speaking after you.
In which case, I can make sure I can talk for like I've got so many slides.
I don't know how to set up I've got internet on this, but
It's an eye thing. Was it a?
this is a Windows trigger.
Well, I've no idea on a Windows thing. Ooh! Although apparently they're actually quite good.
They're good as long as you don't mind that no one makes ads for them.
Yeah. Let's actually run through my slides and check that they work. Actually, you know what? The just leaning the phone up against something system actually seems to get quite a good.
Masking tape again.
You know what? That'll do, I think. I'll do.
Do you tape it?
No, I think leave it.
Leave it.
Yeah.
It's possible to lift. Okay, the tape's all this.
Yeah, brilliant.
I'm sure at some point it's fall over.
How's it going with the setup?
I'm basically ready to go. Well, yeah, I've got streamings going up. It'll be the same link as yesterday, I think.
Okay,
So shall I just tweet that out?
Yeah.
And then I'll...
Yeah, and then you'll pop up. Stop presenting. Okay, I'm just gonna...
Give me 2 seconds and we'll go...
Are you okay? Just give me a shout when you're ready.
I'm basically just on the tweet.
I'll just maybe start off. Hi everyone, thanks for coming to SotM, the third SotM. We're going to get started shortly, but I just thought I'd sort of just give you a bit of information out today. So we're going to have a break at 11:30-ish to have coffee. There's lunch at 1, and we'll be finishing around 5. Chris will be starting off shortly, and he's just setting up the video streaming on the phone there. There's toilets are out in the foyer there, the men's is over to the left, the women's is straight up on the right. What else is coming? If you've got got any questions about sort of the food and dietary requirements, let me know. If you've got any other questions, just ask anyone with a t-shirt on. They should be able to help you out. And yeah, we should be getting started soon. We've got kind of, in the afternoon session, kind of got some interesting things going on. We've got hopefully a 3D drone kind of demonstration, and we've also got a guided tour of the map library. And I think as you're signing up, you kind of selected which one you wanted to go on. So we'll try and sort that out later, but just sort of, we'll just sort of wait till that point, and we'll try and sort of split you up into the two groups, and we'll kind of go off and do those things, and then we'll come back, and you'll be able to leave your stuff here, and we'll kind of catch up for you. So yeah, great. I'm really excited. So many great talks today. Chris is going to kind of kick us off with a sort of just a general update about OpenStreetMap Scotland and what's been happening.
This works.
So, yeah, thanks very much, Chris.
Right. Thanks for coming, everybody. Loads of people here. It's quite exciting to see everybody. It's kind of day two. Day one was yesterday. We had a lot of kind of humanitarian places elsewhere in the world that OpenStreetMap's been used. The focus was very much on things that we're doing for other places and how the data can be used. But we're really here to talk about ourselves as well, how we're doing in Scotland, what's happening. I'm trying to remember the first year we did this State of the Map Scotland conference. I'm trying to remember if it was 2011 or 2010. But we've been doing this for a while, and I've kind of been using the same kind of set of slides and just updating them going on. Yeah, so if you've been here before, apologies, you've probably seen some of these. I was also doing them quite late last night, so there's a few that I've maybe not fully checked properly, so please don't run out the errors or the really bad mistakes in them. We'll do, that's alright. First thing I'm going to do is just look at some maps. We've got some great maps of Scotland, different renderings and stuff. So we'll just have a look at some of the things that have been going on. This is actually, I think this one last year, but Sergeant was saying it's one of the really nice stadium renderings where they do kind of a black and white rendering. That's in Glasgow. There was quite a lot. I've been kind of trying to work out there's just been an update for the last 2 years of what's been happening where. So actually the last year there's been a bit less, but the year before that there was loads of stuff happening. There was a whole load of feature map stuff, there were mapping parties. And actually that was quite interesting. They were getting loads of people to come in and actually put points on maps and actually do physical stuff. So that was happening. There were also, and then there were a whole load of action maps and using OpenStreetMap as a base layer. So that was road traffic accidents. So these are all just using OpenStreetMap base layers. And actually there's some really nice, interesting rendering. Those. Do you know if we can turn these lights to the front of? It's probably not worth trying to do. We did a whole lot of 3D map stuff. It's Bob here, yeah. Bob I think, spent ages working on actually doing a 3D. So this is a 3D map. I'm going to try and do the actual. So that's actually a picture of it, but actually it's quite interesting just to click on the thing. And actually, this is coming a long way off the web server, and you can actually swim around on it. But it's pretty hard to actually do the layers and getting all the actual tagging for the 3D buildings. But it's quite interesting that OpenStreetMap can do that. We have done that. And then obviously the next layer on top of that is we did some 3D printouts. So again, from the same kind of Glasgow data set, there's a Duncan that you did the 3D printout. And it looks really amazing. It's kind of actually a real map that you can hold and feel. And this is all coming from OpenStreetMap data, so that stuff's all really exciting and interesting. There are a lot of games, so we mapped a whole lot of the buildings, the venues, and this was taken just afterwards, so this area here kind of turned back into disuse, and then I went back and checked it again this year, and actually it's all been finished off, and the brown kind of construction has been turned back into it's all over the roads and finished up and stuff. I was trying to work out this bridge here. Does that actually just end there, or should there be something attached to it? One of those curious things. Is that actually what it is on the ground, or do we need to get that? I don't know. There was a note on the previous one there, and that's been resolved this year as well. So that's kind of good to see that things are progressing and people are updating things like that as they happen. So that was the main thing. You've got the benefit at the top there. And in Edinburgh, we've had a whole bunch of work going on by the Mesh project. They're doing a talk later, so I won't talk too much about them. But they've been kind of really getting right down to the detail, mapping the gardens, getting all the house numbers. I think their plan is for a big chunk of Edinburgh to actually have every door, basically every address point, actually in there on the map in place. That's quite exciting. And there's some really good map sources. I'm setting over in Newtown. So a lot of that mapping has been done from aerial imagery, which you can see there. So that's the editor view. Actually, people going in and doing that. But we've also got National Library of Scotland, some of their historic maps. And actually, for areas like this that haven't changed, these maps actually align pretty well. I tried to do this for the street that I live on, which is here. I live here, but the map ends there. They were halfway through building it when that map was published, so they didn't find out on the old map. But the arrow image really is quite nice. That's quite interesting. And you can kind of see the extent of those old maps. They only take us so far. To the point where you then just be back to, especially for buildings, and that does seem to be, when I've kind of gone through and looked at some of the data, that seems to be the big thing that we're growing at the moment in Scotland. Again, the year before last, we had a mapping party in Livingston over here. I just wanted to kind of touch a little bit on mapping parties. Actually, a lot of the mapping parties have been this year. We've been doing the missing map stuff. Actually, there's student groups which is brilliant to set that up. And again, this is where I love the way OpenStreetMap works. Actually, someone kind of independent of the main kind of group of OpenStreetMappers saw this thing and they started doing it. And I think we only found out about it after the first mapping party actually happened. But actually, then subsequently, we've got involved with them. And actually, I think it's quite useful to have people there that kind of know OpenStreetMap as well as the new people. Well, there's also, I've noticed from that actually, one or two of the people that actually were introduced to OpenStreetMap through the kind of humanitarian side have actually then subsequently been mapping in Edinburgh. So that's kind of this really nice kind of thing where actually the more angles that people can see OpenStreetMap through, the better it is for both locally and globally. So that's great to see that growing. That was a street shot of people that had that mapping party as to involve you recognise. There's my GPS. I quite like to go out. Either my son with me on that day, and I didn't go out with the main group, but we just went for a little wander. And you've got to get them working on the GPS as young as you can. I think he's got it. He's holding up, getting a better signal. I know he thinks it's a phone. Yeah, definitely a phone. But actually, we had a wander. We actually discovered Dr. Neil's garden, which I've never seen before out there. I actually just had a wander around and picked up some of the details. So actually, although the garden was there, actually what we could then do is we could have steps and bridges and things like that that children are interested in. And then actually afterwards in that party, there's some mapping as well. I think this is just a wee follow-up from, so that's some of the stuff that's been happening anyway. I'm going to look at some other things in Scotland a bit later on if we've got time. One of the things that came out of the last statement about Scotland was actually some of the place naming, especially in Edinburgh, wasn't great. And one of the things that we wanted to know, from that one, that we kept that right, was that actually they were missing the very local, the neighbourhood weren't being displayed. So actually one of the things we did in the hack day last year was add local neighbourhoods to the rendering of OpenStreetMap. And that particular thing did get accepted. That I accepted. The other one I think was a down rendering one that
it was finally been accepted.
It was finally been accepted. Hooray! It took a long time. I kind of almost thought about it. And actually, I found that I've been able to use OpenStreetMap in my day job, which is more on telecoms, but one of the guys that we have a product actually can locate radio transmissions. We have kind of a set of 3 sensors, and this is their user interface. It's looking at RF stuff and it's scanning, then triangulating where things are happening. And it turned out they were using OpenStreetMap for their images, and they were running into problems at one stage because actually the export function of the OpenStreetMap website is a kind of this will only work if the load is low. And actually they kept complaining that the export wasn't working anymore. And then someone changed the user interface, so you can see the exact flat, long coordinates of their boxes. And the way they were doing this was basically, you got the image, and then you had to put in the top left-hand corner, top right-hand corner into the software, and then that was what it was displaying. These things tend to be fixed, so there's a kind of thing that was getting set up for them. But they were complaining, they were then apparently taking the images out of OpenStreetMap, geolocating them in Google Earth location. So I was like, this is silly. So we actually built an internal map rendering server, and I gave them a nice little interface, and that's still running, and actually the field people can then go and use it. And what's interesting is, unofficially, this kind of stuff gets used in kind of big events, big stadiums, things like that, where they kind of manage frequencies. So this probably was used, so someone would have been looking at OpenStreetMap, say during the Olympics or the Commonwealth Games, and actually looking at where people were using what frequencies and transmitting from, and trying to find road transmitters. So that was OpenStreetMap there. So it was quite nice to actually use it for my day job rather than just normally having to do it much in time. We also did a whole load of stuff recently. Sterling's actually looking really good, and that was, you can see the river on the air, so that's the toner imaging aid. And people have been doing kind of like, actually what doesn't quite work on that screen, mapping individual tree types in an orchard. So I've been meaning to follow this up, so there's a whole load of stuff happening in Blackhole, and it's actually looking really good. And one thing I really liked is they had some paper guidelines, which was how to actually tag things, what's essential stuff that we actually have to have on the map, and these are the things that are desirable. So their essentials were actually really about the links between places, what's there, and then more desirable the house names and numbers. Again, this is the kind of, I think it's overall the trend that you see is that we start off by mapping what's the place called, where are the roads, and then the second thing is, almost becomes a second pass if we then do what was the surface, you start doing walls and fences, land cover, in the way that we saw the map of Edinburgh at the moment, where you actually keep on mapping individual gardens and things. Other places where we're kind of much happier with just, is it on the map, is my building there, is my house number there, so we kind of have that thing. And actually some of the best ways of saying, for the highway code thing that they did, it's just a little table, what are the different things, you can use what types of keys. So their documentation I thought was really good. The other thing I wasn't quite put on, that's annoying. I can't see the 2015 numbers on there. So pretty much, I think the first one of these must have been in 2011. We've been kind of tracking using the kind of ITO maps, who use the Open Survey database. They kind of produce a list of names, and they kind of say, here's the names that are missing in different places. And I kind of, for the first few years, it was quite interesting to actually track that. I've kind of cut most of those out now. It's kind of worth looking at the top of the table and the bottom of the table. And I remember so actually in Edinburgh this year, according to their list of roads, there were 33 new roads added. At the moment, we're missing 2 of those. So there's a bit of work to do. I'll go and have a show you what that looks like in a second. Glasgow's lost a road last year, so they're down a road and their road down. And they're missing like 68. What that means in percentage terms is Edinburgh is now 98.2%. But I was also looking at the bottom of the table. What's happened in Moray? So I was looking at their list. It's down 1,881 roads from last year. Will they need boundary changes or anything? Sean's not here to ask about the ITO maps. Anyway, so that seemed weird. The percentages are roughly where they were. So there's not actually a great deal of movement on that, but actually we're sort of 5% out. But actually, when you look at Edinburgh, which we'll do that now. When you look at the Edinburgh stats, what you see is actually there's a whole load of basically roads that are wrong in that data. So actually, being 5% out probably is only being 1 or 2% out in reality. There we go. So this is what that interface looks like for those of you who haven't seen it. So you kind of got, on this side, you kind of got the not names. So these are the names where basically we've actually gone, we've checked on the ground, and we've actually said, on the survey data says this, but actually we know that it's that. So on Wester Hills Drive, should be Harveston Place. So there's 2 roads that are actually shown as missing here. So we do actually need to to go and have a look at these, and I'm sure someone will. I think I did
Maybe
this.
his way is not signed.
What's that?
Maybe his way is not signed. It's at the airport. There is no signs.
That's what I was going to say. Because
It's not on the. It's not on the other source to look at is the councils have a list of roads. It's not on that.
and actually, that's what I was going to say. I bet we're on top of this already. So actually, the two roads. Glendice Terrace. Have you looked at Glendice Terrace?
I think it's just a bit of the road is missing.
Yeah.
It's not been signed, but
Yeah. So we're talking about that level of detail, and actually, someone in the room is already. So actually, I think in Edinburgh we're definitely very much on top of that. So that's kind of really good to see. The other thing that I've kind of been tracking the last couple of years is actually just lengths of roads. So this year we've got 25,882 kilometres of track. So that's actually the longest amount of anything we have in the world. And it's kind of quite interesting to just flick through these are the 2004 numbers. So actually track, we've added 5,000 kilometres of track in the last year. That's what the growth is. Things like unclassified residential service roads are actually pretty static between 2004 this year. So most of the main road types, and that is actually, I think, just a sign of stability. We've actually got all those roads. There's very little to add. When you look at path and footways, they're still growing. So this year, so if you look at, say, path, 7,350 metres, and then last year we were at 6. I think path and footway, there's been a bit of a swap around between them. So 6,290. 7,350. So yeah, so we have been growing. And actually, the growth of the paths and the footways is slowing down. But I think there's probably still a huge amount of those kind of things to map, especially in the more rural out of the way places that people don't visit so often. But it's kind of good to see that the things that we'd expect to be growing, the tracks, are kind of less interesting. Well, the more unusual things are growing, but the kind of the main road types are actually very actually stable, I would say. There's a couple of slides that didn't work there. I also quite like when you get to the bottom of that list to see what you've got. So you've got kind of, I meant to go and actually have a look what is highway equals escape was one of the 106 metres. Is it an escape road maybe? Highway survey. I don't know. So there's kind of right down the bottom. There's only one highway forward, which I thought there might actually be more, but it might be more of a sub tag. This year I also thought it would be interesting to look at land use and just see how that's changed since last year. Sorry, it doesn't make it the easiest to road. But actually, again, forests are kind of one of the main land uses that we actually tend to tag. I think there's probably, this is in kilometres square, I think we're probably still, if I got my calculations right, which I'm not totally 100% sure about, we've got 6,000 square kilometres of forest. And actually last year we had 5,728. So actually we've not grown that much more forest. What's interesting is the count, there's only 18,000, and this year there's 21,000. So actually we seem to be adding more, or we tend to be breaking things up. So land use, and overall, the total amount of land use, actually we've not mapped a huge amount more from 2014 to 2015 in relative terms in kilometres square, but we've added 10,000. So I think we're probably almost maybe breaking up bigger areas and creating new ones on land use. Oh no, sorry, that wasn't land use. This is buildings. Buildings we've added. Yeah, that was relatively small. Buildings is actually where the big growth is. So this is in 2014, we had a big number of buildings. I needed to divide that by 6, which is so it's 59, actually it's only 59 square kilometres of buildings of yes and residentials. But actually there was actually a fairly big hike over the last year. I put the total somewhere. But buildings actually is where the real growth is when you look at it. We're not adding so much land use, we're not adding so much roads, but when you actually look at buildings, there's a huge number of new buildings going onto the map. And that is largely what you see when you look at where people have been mapping. Once actually all the roads are on, actually the next thing that we're interested in is buildings and addresses and that level of detail. Actually place names is really static this year. I think when I did this last year, from 2013 to 2014, we added something like 1,000 odd place names in Scotland. Actually, that number was exactly the same this year, which I'm hoping means we've probably got all the place names in Scotland now. Hard to be sure. And again, you've kind of got the bottom of the list is where you've got the interesting things. Right at the bottom there, Rock 1, building yes, building region. Sorry, place space, you know, Iceland. And again, you still have a more interesting problematic area. So that's kind of the places where you know, how do you name terraces? So that's kind of, there's this massive growth. We still do have some interesting things going on in terms of vandalism. It doesn't quite fit on that slide in the top left-hand corner here. You may notice that I saw an edit just actually last week, and actually one of these buildings has kind of gone round. And when I look at the change set, someone had actually taken the square building, they made it round, and they called that the name of their business. And when you look at the tags that have changed, local van man Edinburgh, it actually looked really nice on the map. There was a nice round building, and it had local van man Edinburgh. Needless to say, I reverted that one pretty quickly. But actually, what was interesting is, I sent him a nice message. I don't actually he's ever going to do another thing on OpenStreetMap. But actually, he'd actually given us some useful information. He'd actually added his postcode. I think we already had the house number in there somewhere. He'd added the building levels, and he'd added his business details. But actually, what was interesting there is actually we did get some useful information for the postcode. No idea what he was thinking. So actually, sign up for account, edit it, create the circle. It's a relatively sophisticated bit of editing, you know, for a first edit. And it was actually quite neat. So, just when I was moving, having a look around, I kind of noticed, I've noticed this before, but actually the borders, the kind of the rural areas is where we tend to suffer. But actually down in the borders, this is Kelso in the top left-hand corner here. Actually, it's looking really, really good. There's some lovely detail in there. Loads of buildings, loads of little fields, forests, everything. And actually, I think that really makes the map look really good. Especially sometimes the standard OpenStreetMap rendering for these areas, it looks a bit bare or whatever. But actually, what's amazing is, well, I think this is one of the reasons it kind of gets a little bit addictive. Is once you start adding the detail, when you see something like this, you kind of want to make your area or the next area along that level up from there. How many times in?
Yeah, actually, 5 minutes.
5 minutes, great. I've got a right or I've got a down at this point, so we can go down. And some of that detail is amazing. This is some of the work that the mesh projects have been doing. And I noticed they added all these bollards, every single one. And I said to Iceland, who did it, I was like, are those just approximate? He's like, no, I measured them, I placed it between them. So apparently, you know, so as accurate as you could be, pretty much as perfectly accurate. All the bollards on the high streets are there. But I also really like this as an evolution of OpenStreetMap. I think I had a brilliant day out maybe in 2008 where I first tried to map this area, and it's really hard to map because you've kind of got the closest, and so you go down between these buildings. Basically, unless you're standing in the middle of the high street, you basically don't have a GPS signal there. So, and that stage, the aerial imagery was even worse than it is now. We didn't have any base maps, so I could have done a really rough approximation. I kind of got all the place names and roughly where they were, but I knew it was out for a long way. And pretty much now, I think we've got this as, again, I think as good as it's going to get. It's really accurate. All the things are there. He's actually, again, I was talking to him, he's actually paced. So where you can get a signal, he's actually measured things, so he knows how far and how long the tunnels were and where the buildings are. And actually, it's amazing what you can do just with your feet and a measuring tape and actually getting that extra level of detail. I think some of the 3D detail could probably still be improved upon, but actually in terms of points of interest, addresses, stuff that I never even dreamed of mapping when I first did this. I think I did pubs, and I did buildings, and I did street names. That was all I was interested back then. I didn't care about bollards, or trees, or even restaurants. We weren't mapping back in that time. All the little details. Same thing, I just think that when you look at kind of Princess Street, Rose Street area, it's just a bit mad, got loads of stuff on there. And actually this is where the Zoom 19, which was kind of the most level of detail, still actually isn't enough. You can easily see zooming in another step beyond that to actually pick up some of the detail that's now on there. I think there's loads of stuff that isn't being rendered that's on there at that point. that resolution, but I think it's probably safe to say I think every shop, every business, every door number is on that map in that area, every garden, everything. So that's quite an achievement, I think. But the rest of Scotland, it's not always looking so good. And again, this is the general thing. The way I seem to think about it, it's almost like places almost lag behind. There's a lag. I think Birmingham were probably ahead of us in some of the really detailed mapping, and we may be a year or two behind them. And then you kind of rest of Scotland, almost as you go further north, it's sort of almost like, just in terms of the people that are involved and how much they've got to do, you're sort of almost going back a little bit in time. So Perth, again, all the streets are there, but you can see that the buildings can't quite see. The building detail is missing from around this area. The streets are on there, they really are. But the buildings aren't on there yet. But actually, there's some nice detail around there, the forests, all the land use, and the main roads. This is Leaf. Notes. Again, it's cut off at the side there. I've noticed the general trend of people just adding a lot of notes to OpenStreetMap, and actually, I don't know, I'm quite intrigued to know where they're coming from. So one of the things that we see is, someone will just put points in there, and they'll put the business name and a link to the Facebook website. And actually, in some ways, you go to Google and you go, oh, yeah, that business is opening there today. And actually, becomes quite a quick thing and then just edit it. So actually, the notes, I think, has been a really useful feature, and I think we see people using it more and more from outside of the core OpenStreetMap community to have stuff, which is what it was there for. So that's really good. We tend to keep an eye on that. So that's kind of most of my talk, with some extra bits at the end. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thanks, Chris. That's great. We've got another Tim coming up now from EGO to talk about making a 3D map of the UK from OpenStreetMap.
We're based in Dundee. Here with Scott and Mark. So we make a 3D map of the world, and we provide that as an open developer platform. And we make some use of OSM at the moment, but not much, and we're looking to make more use of OSM. And I'll talk a little bit about how we build these 3D maps and how we currently use OSM and how we're looking at using OSM more in the future. So we provide a 3D mapping SDK for iOS, Android, OS X, Windows, Oculus, and WebGL. We think it's the largest virtual world, the real world, that we're aware of, that you can actually interact with and use as an actual full virtual world. And we've got about 20 million square kilometers at the moment. We've been working on this technology in Dundee since 2007. And quite a bit of it has been open source GitHub EGO. So we don't use OSM exclusively, so we use quite a lot of commercial vendors. So we're working with Zenrin in Japan, and we've got the whole of Japan in 3D for a company called Entity Docomo, which is a mobile operator in Japan. We've used data from Telstra to build out part of Australia, specifically the area around Melbourne, again in 3D. And we built, this is part of subset of Brazil, Rio and Sao Paulo, quite a significant area, about 5,000 square kilometers around Rio and Sao Paulo for Samsung. And we built the entirety of North America, so the whole of USA and Canada for Pinex Limited. And we do make use of some OSM building data there. The data we have for building coverage in the States is extremely limited, and we use OSM for filling out some additional building coverage. So that's a view of the map form where we are today in our maps. And almost all of our maps are machine generated, procedure generated. So we take source data like OSM, but also from commercial vendors like TomTom. Run them through our processes to produce 3D models, collision data, navigation data, to produce our world. And over the last couple of years, we've been moving towards opening our technology stack. So we've been steadily open sourcing aspects of that technology stack. So we've got a fully featured example app that's open source on GitHub. The samples are open source, and there's a new open source iOS API. Over the coming 12 months, we're looking to move to a more open data strategy, which is why we're interested in speaking to people today. So we take familiar data that you see, and you're all familiar with from OSM. This is the area around Dundee, and our office is just around that roundabout over there. And we produce 3D geometry from that source data, which we then apply textures to. You can see that cars driving around. It's fully interactive. You can collide with that. It's a fully interactive world. To the point where it's dynamic as well, so we can make it night. We can change it from day in real time to make it night. We can make it snow. We can make it spring. And that's one of the benefits of, we think one of the benefits of our tech over photogrammetric approaches to 3D maps, where it's an interactive 3D model that you can control in real time. So going into quite a bit of detail now about how we actually do this, and how we actually take the data like OSM and actually produce 3D model. So that's a model of downtown San Francisco, including the triangulation. So we treat the map as different layers. So we treat buildings differently to roads, and we treat roads differently to terrain. So for terrain, we take a DTM, and we prefer DTMs than DSMs or DEMs. We prefer the exact terrain model, not any model that has contribution from man-made structures. And it's a land cover polygons. And the land cover polygons is a bit of a difficult one, so we like taking fine grain detail, which is the kind of detail that you have in OSM. You don't tend to have fine grain detail around parks and city areas. But we also like to take much coarser LCM data derived from satellite raster, and that fills out the more land areas that we were talking about a bit ago, so that we can get agricultural fields and wider forest areas. We tend to find a lot of vendors, and also in OSM, that the larger areas tend to be very bare, and that produces a bare map. So we produce a height mesh, and we produce a triangulated LCM mesh. So the height mesh we derive from a traditional raster. Produce a regular triangulated height mesh. We take land cover polygons and land or water polygons to generate land, and produce triangulated land cover. And the combination of those two produces our terrain mesh. We keep that terrain mesh regularly divided, as you can see, which is somewhat inefficient, but it allows us to then more easily drape additional geometry over that. If that was irregularly triangulated, it becomes more complex to drape additional geometry over that. So for roads, and also rail lines and tram lines, they're effectively the same process. So we take a connected road graph. So we don't take road casing, we take a connected road graph. Again, all is provided by OSM. We also need road heights, or prefer road heights. So they can take two forms, but we prefer actual GPS measurements of road height. But that's extremely rare, like that tends to not exist. I think we're aware of one vendor that provides that. So we can also work with layering, so like road A is above road B, and then we can infer that there's some height, but often, as you probably know, because stacked roads, we state that road A is stacked above road B. We can then infer and say road A is 5 metres above road B. And we run that through a process to generate a road mesh. So, connected road graph. The algorithm starts off as effectively a line drawing, a line tessellation algorithm. So, for each of the segments of a polygon, we extrude by the road width. Half the angle of each of those segments of that road. And that part's quite straightforward. It's when it reaches junctions that it becomes a problem. Especially when we have varying road widths or varying road heights. It becomes complex to resolve. And this is a more difficult problem than like rasterizing the 2D map layers, where you can just stamp these on top of each other really and hide the problem that we have to deal with there. So what we have to do here is identify junction. So we know that there's a junction at that intersection point. We can see that orange circle there. So we know that there's a junction in the vicinity. We extend the extruded road edges and find intersection points. So you can see the 3 pink circles there, and they act as control points where we run it through a junction resolution algorithm. It produces something like that. It's not exact. Some junctions are very complex. There's many roads or many acute angles. This algorithm does not work perfectly. It's not a solved problem. There's many cases where we have less elegant solutions than that. That's the kind of road mesh that we end up with. Buildings are much simpler. So we take building contours or building footprints, triangulate those, and add an offset. I'll talk about this a little bit more, but 3D, and you're probably aware from the 3D we were talking about before, that 3D building outlines tend to be grouped, and there's some grouping saying that this building is comprised of these other parts, and that becomes a little bit more complex. And then the building mesh is offset to sit on the triangle. Familiar building footprints. So for the height of these footprints, the height data is quite sparse. It's quite difficult to obtain exact heights for building contours. Especially in OSM, there's not much coverage of exact building heights. There's occasionally, we can also work with number of floors, but again, number of floors is not really defined that much. Not a common thing in OSM defined. We triangulate the building contour, extrude from the actual, preferably the actual height, but the height inferred from the number of floors. And if we have neither of those, we will try and infer or guess a height from the area of the polygon. So like smaller polygons tend to get 2-story buildings. Larger polygons, very large polygons, we tend to guess off factors, and then in between we tend to guess maybe skyscrapers, so we give them a bit of a higher height. But as I say, we prefer having actual height data. This is a building grouping thing. So I'm actually missing a slide. So the building on the right, we also insert additional geometry on the walls so that we can texture the side of the walls, so that you can have a top part of the building, a bottom part of the building with maybe shop entrances, and then a middle part of the building that's tileable so that we can add end floors. Building groups, so for a simple polygon is insufficient to describe a 3D building, so often buildings are split up into separate polygons that are then related, and some of those polygons may have an offset so that they're floating, and this is something that is supported in OSM, which I'll talk about shortly. That's a kind of the building mesh that we generate, and you can see that the top part of the building and the bottom part of the building has a slightly different texture in some cases, and then there's a middle section that we tile for a varying number of floors. We also generate trees. We tend to not do this using exact tree layers. I know that we do have people that go around and place exact tree points. We tend to not use exact tree points, but randomly generate them. So we randomly generate trees, and it can also be used to randomly place other things, so like placing golf carts and golf flags on golf courses, or animals in fields. We also generate something called what we call a glow map or a light map, which we use for adding, I don't know if you can see the street glow. And we did this by rasterizing the road network with a higher contribution, and the buildings, the extruded buildings footprints as a slightly lower contribution. We did that at a higher resolution, scale it down to reduce the aliasing artifacts. We apply some noise, deterministic noise, and then we apply a Gaussian blur to that, and that produces the street flow that you can see. So that's how we generate our maps. I thought I'd spend a little bit of time talking about where we are with 3D support in OSM, or the state of 3D map in OSM. So there's agreed tagging consistency for 3D buildings in OSM, which is really positive. And there is tagging support for height, and there is tagging support for number of floors. And there is some coverage, but coverage is extremely sparse. Now, this is something that we do in our data all day. So I think we're quite interested in talking to some of you guys today about how we can help contribute more 3D data. So, again, 3D roads. Briefly spoke about this. There's an actual road height, above mean sea level road height for each road vertex in a road network is an extremely rare data set. We're only aware of one in Japan. Layering is much more common. OSM has agreed tagging support for both layering and exact elevation. Layering is quite common, especially at complex intersections, but exact elevation is, I think, pretty much non-existent. Again, how can we help? So, interesting slide next. Not that, sorry, that's a layering. So this is a GPS trace. OSM collects GPS traces from various submissions. Mapbox are visualized. This is to get a junction down in Birmingham. Visualize the dump of the GPS traces that you guys collect. They're quite useful, I guess, for like maybe automatically collecting lateral position of those. But we also think that those GPX, those raw GPX traces that are submitted to you guys, probably contain elevation. The GPS receiver that you were showing earlier has a elevation. The bulk export of the GPS tracks does not include any of that elevation data. However, some of the GPX submissions to your collection of this is actually contains that elevation data. It's just stripped from the point export. So we think it would be quite interesting to experiment with extracting some of that elevation data to infer height of the road drive. Another area of interest to us is indoor mapping. I think there's some early OSM progress for indoor mapping, quite a few things. And we can generate 3D models of interiors using a similar approach to the buildings that you're seeing. So we can generate 3D interiors. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think indoor mapping is quite new in OSM and has very little coverage at the moment. But again, it's an area of interest. Again, if we could help, that would be what we would do. So I think our vision of where we're going with our stack is a free and open tier, and this is what we're working on at the moment. It's a free and open tier of our technology stack using OSM exclusively. I think we're getting close to that as OSM's coverage and data quality improves. And we are considering making OSM-derived open data set. In the open science format, Clara, which is a 3D model format. It'd be interesting to speak to anybody today if that would be of interest to anybody. We currently have open source IS API, which is a drop-in replacement for MapKit, available as a CocoaPod or github.com EGO. We have an open source example app, which you can have a look at again at GitHub EGO. And there's an app that you can download and install to have a play with our existing maps that use OSM coverage, instead of building coverage in the States. I think that's everything from us today. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. I've done questions, but we could got a few minutes.
Yeah, if anybody has any, yeah?
Yeah.
Don't look back.
You got terrain map in earlier. Which one? It says that this is going to get elevation.
So we tend to use public domain elevation data sets down to 30 metre resolution. We can get away with about 30 metre resolution. And we use NASA's SotM or ASTA 30 metre resolution. And we tend to just use public domain data sets for that. It's also a NASA product, it's ASTA. So there's an arc second data set recently produced from NASA called SRTM 30, and there's the ASTA data set, which is also 30 metre resolution. But those are both DEM, so they contain man-made structures, which causes a bit of noise for us. So occasionally, if we need more accurate data, we will use commercial vendors. So we use Ordnance Survey had a product, a 10 metre resolution product that we use for more critical areas. They are, yes. So our preference is to use the public domain.
Yeah, an observation I'd be interested if other people agree or disagree, and it would be that the way, when you're asking how can we help to get stuff mapped and recorded,
Yeah.
Definitely my very strong observation is that you need to make it visible to people, and that people map what they can see. The stuff which, generally speaking, because you're talking to quite a specialist audience here, but the people that actually record things are all the folk out there. And the folk out there, when they see something's wrong, that's how I started, that's not right, how do I change that? So until you can make it really visible and very obvious, very easy for people to see and access, things aren't mapped very well. Once it becomes obvious and once people start telling their friends, look at this, hey, your house is wrong, that's when I think, so it's a community thing, not a kind of experts thing. Do other people agree with me on that one?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Any other?
Instead about the GPS process based in RSC, I think you're going to find out that I'm supposed to research.
Yes, I think one of the questions that I have for, I suppose, a non-community question, but for the experts is who's best at ISM to contact regarding that GPS trace?
I've just asked the question on the IRC channel.
Yeah, because I believe that data set has elevation data that they're filtering now.
Sorry, I just add to that as well. I have a second observation, and again, which same thing. I'd be interested in other people's opinions. When I'm at, I don't contribute those GPS traces quite often because it's simpler not to think what data am I giving away to the world in terms of where I live, and so I map using my own local GPS data. Whereas I think in the past it was more common for people to export it actually onto the OSM interface. So am I unusual in that, or are other people just saying it's good?
I agree, and the other thing I would say is that a lot of my traces are, if I'm on a bike, then I'll take a shortcut, and I'll know that I've taken a shortcut, and that isn't actually a path. I've just cut across a field or something, or I've gone down a track and thought, actually, this is not really suitable for a bike, and had to turn around, but that information is still in the GPS trace, and it's a lot of effort to remove that, so these are not to just upload data that is not really very valuable.
I tend to edit my GPS traces and take out my house. Quite prolific as I thought. Yeah, well, isn't it sort of useful?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thanks. That's great. Actually, I have one question for Chris. Was how many miles of steps we mapped?
I think it was 80. We added 10 kilometres in the last year. We went from 78 to 88, I think.
88 kilometres.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me check. I've got the data here.
Always like that.
Give me a few seconds.
I just thought actually, Gregor, I think I've got some water on the desk outside the speakers. If you could, do you mind if you could bring it in? Handy. Paul's sort of just rushed in now, so he's ready for his the next talk about from GeoGeo about 3D mapping. So I think we're kind of bang on schedule. We kind of came late. There'll be a break at 11:30. If you're wondering.
Yeah, so the elevation data is stored, so we just need to get added to the data dump.
It should just straight to that.
Yeah, it just came up on ours. Yeah, we've just used the. There we go.
Great. Thank you. Not in my day for technology. Last time Hi folks, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Paul. I'm a geographer and I have a background in international development and geographic information science. What that's meant is that for the last 10 years I've been looking at lowering the barriers of access for communities, governments and other organisations to access the latest mapping tools and to benefit from thinking spatially. So just to give you a quick sort of intro to what that means, we started with the capacity building, teaching communities how to use open source, starting in East Africa, piloting there before taking here in Scotland. And this is an example from the Carson area where the hub is usually the first thing mapped. We've got the time here, 10 retired people and a 13-year-old girl called Lucy in a citizen science mapping project for climate resilience, mapped 11,000 features on OpenStreetMap in just 3 weeks between all villages of Perth and Dundee. That was 2 years ago, and they now have a dedicated mapping team, one dedicated to heritage, others to conservation of swifts, and to flooding as well. As well as helping people learn new tools, we also build open source platforms as well, sort of preaching to the converted when we talk about open source, so we'll just skip right over that. But the idea, again, is the concept of just thinking like one geography. I think that's the key sort of fundamental behind all the mapping platforms that we design. And of course, because all geographic data comes from the sky, I got myself a pilot's license in 2014 and became Scotland's first fixed-wing drone pilot to be permitted to be live in cities, other congested areas, and petrochemical sites, actually, thanks to this week's work over at BP and Grinchman. The three main reasons why we fly, I've got Amy over here, but just to give you an introduction into the equipment, this is the SenseFly EV. In the UK, there's 250 different types of models that are commercially available for aerial work. 99% of those are quadcopters. I wouldn't put a joystick in my hand. Anyway. So this is the EV. There's only two that are guaranteed an airworthiness certificate by the Civil Aviation Authority. The first one is this one, which this is still the only EV in Scotland at the moment, although there is another one at home. And the other one is made by Trimble, the UX5. Trimble's about 50 grand. This will cost you, the new version, the RTK version, is about 30,000. And the thermal camera, which is just a little bit of equipment, is a tiny piece of equipment. I'm scared to say that that's 10 grand. 10 grams. But the three main reasons why this is a game-changing bit of software or system is because, well, first of all, that's low cost. That's cheaper than a satellite airplane will ever be. Okay, thermal camera, don't pass that.
Yeah, we're just going to
We passed the UV last time, and I just did the popping sound of foam, and I just kind of like, I've done that already, so it's fine. The other obvious thing is that you're flying below the cloud level, closest to the ground, you're going to be able to capture resolutions of up to 1.5 centimeters. And the flexibility of it, it's kind of there where you want it, when you want it, gives you the ability to be the first to respond to incidents like flooding, fires, and also being able to monitor and report over a fixed area for a long period of time, which is game-changing for renewable energy planners, forestry inventories. I could go on, so please, if we go to talk applications, we can do that after. Just a quick demo of how it works. Shake it 3 times, kick off the accelerometer, start the engine, and then just that's done. And the idea is it's all about planning and safety. You're using ironically satellite imagery and SotM data to ensure that you're maintaining a similar altitude over the landscape to maximize the 3D reconstruction of the land below. And this is over in Barcelona, in the west end of Scotland here, and a great place to try and showcase why 3D maps and 3D GIS is the new revolution. And that's because with that, I can tell Warren Football Club exactly where to stand on the Warren Rock so they can watch the game free. It seems like a juvenile application of 3D GIS, but at least it gives you an understanding that this is the simple fact that the world's not flat, it's not round, it's a 3D geoid. Smart campus is another application that we're looking at because of things like utilities, infrastructure, and even lecture halls being on the third and fourth floor. The ability to create a mirror world in 3D is the next step in terms of how we use geographic data. And there's a lot of things, right? You can see a few mistakes, and we'll talk about the format and outputs that we get. This is the near infrared camera. After a hackathon that we had, we identified Casa del Norte as a good place to try and do a near infrared survey and to show the differences between traditional and this type of surveying techniques. Near infrared is great for things like identifying vegetation in general. I won't get all the remote sensing line, but NDVI and also underlying archaeology is some of the main applications for that. I'll just show you lots of stuff. But we're at Edinburgh 4 centimeter resolution. This only took 2 flights, about 2 hours out of our day. We've then gone on to do Cotton Hill, but yeah, we're aiming to complete all of Edinburgh by next year. Basically. But the concept of being able to map your city in 3D, again, increasingly converted. There's a lot of really great reasons for that. The first is how much we already spend to satellite and manned aircraft companies to do the same thing, waiting for a clear day, when instead, actually, cloudy days are better for not having shadows on the image. This kind of resolution opens up completely new opportunities that weren't available before. The most obvious one looking at that is really for solar panel. Being able to monitor the potential incoming solar PV radiation is something just not possible with the data sets we're using at 25 and 50 centimeters. Yeah, this isn't design day yet. We'll talk about different formats. If there is an Edinburgh computer game version, I'm happy to share with anyone. And we'll try and run it here, but technology beats me today. So I have a drone. Don't go after that. But it's true. This is not just about quadcopters and music videos. This is a drone that's specifically designed for mapping, and this is the beginning of this period. Actually, it represents a decentralized approach to remote sensing and Earth observation. It empowers our own cities to be able to host individuals within that city to be regularly monitoring the city at far cheaper cost than we're doing currently. So, given it's a developer's day, not a spatial analysis day, we'll skip over the spatial analysis stuff. When it comes speak to myself and Stephen, we'll be more than happy to talk about some of the things that we're looking at. So, 3 basic outputs that we're going to have. First is the tips, the classic raster images, orthomosaics down to 1.5 centimeters, digital surface models, and digital terrain models were built in a natural environment, separated, 3D point clouds, and triangular mesh, maybe one of my favorites. So let's just go through the first. Yeah, that image actually is the day after Glasgow flew by. It's fine. And this map here is actually made by Mapbox and institute in Long Island University, looking at energy use within the city. We have a heat map that's done brilliantly by the team in Thinkware. But the point about this one is it was done at a building level. But the concept here is that tile map services are a brilliant format that we've been using. Anyone that's used Google Maps, its ability to create seamless tiles, it renders very quickly. The way we can get it from drone to phone is quite simple with this method, because here we can output Mapbox tiles straight off the bat, which means we can put it in a tile mill, or do one better, just build your own tile server. It's all open source. If you own a server and you know things with Mapbox, I'll show you exactly how to do it. And the idea is that you're quickly rendering these tiles onto the web. The reason that's a great thing for OpenStreetMap users is that once you've got it on tile map service, you can put it straight to the base map. That's probably not as applicable in Scotland as it is in other parts of the world. We have a project in Orisha where, I'm from Aberdeenshire actually. I mean, I should just be going there because the satellite imagery is not exactly cloudless. But that's one of the main outputs that I want to touch upon. It's the most basic one that we can do because it's so quick in the field. We've actually put together a humanitarian response group called UAViators, an American name, the guy that was founding the Shahidi, Patrick Meyer. And that's the concept of that is tie the world back in the whole SotM team so that we can do exactly that. Capture everything, map it out, turn it into tiles, and give it to the SotM users. I would be more than happy to discuss afterwards about how we continue to do this offline, because the biggest challenge is, of course, internet and responsibility. And the next format that we're getting clear is point clouds. Here, the next geospatial debate. I'm not sure if this is for you or if it's me, but so the OGC are currently looking at the fact that we don't have a geospatial standard for point clouds. But given that this is a game changer and a revolution for surveying, we're going to see an onset of huge amounts of data coming out in the next couple of years. If you think we produce enough now, we can fill in one thermal camera flight's already 20 gigs, and I do at least 5 or 6 flights in a day. So the point clouds are absolutely enormous. They come in 2 main formats that we use here. Typical for LiDAR, typical for georeferencing. Much better here because we can actually use graphs to georeference that. So that's when we're starting to being able to collaborate with other drone pilots that have drone pilots. But the main thing here is that we need that kind of standardization over how we save point clouds and use them. And that's an issue that is ongoing still. And my favorite is triangular mesh, not just because I can use the same game engines from GTA and use them to make their own worlds, but the other great thing about this is I've seen you can put it into. We spoke about the smart campus. Never mind a mirror world, but a mirror world you can actually go into with any augmented reality goggles. You're starting to be able to make those objects interactive. I used to co-authored the Future City Demonstrator project in Glasgow, and first week of the job, I already flew an Rockstar, GTA Glasgow. But for education, a lot of people talk about smart cities, but the first topic always that citizens want to capture is heritage. So the idea of creating a mirror world, because you've got triangular mesh, you can take old photos of the city and use spherical projection to recreate that world again into a different time, and the ability to use this type of gaming to engage our elder citizens in the city to capture what they know about the city. It's quite an exciting prospect for me. I continue to get excited about it. And I was going to do a few demonstrations, but I think that we might have to save that for later. So just to say thanks for your time. And the reason we do what we do is based on the first thought job reading, which no one ever seems to know.
We were there yesterday, we know what it is.
Yeah.
I've forgotten.
You always know most about the things closest to you that are emotional and physical, and that's why we start with citizens. And that's why we try to do this, so that we can enable citizens to get involved and become part of the story. We'll talk about data quality. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Yeah, there might be a few questions. Before we get started, there's a slight lack of Wi-Fi today. If anyone does need Wi-Fi, let me know, and I can either get you a login. We've got a limited number of logins, or we'll set up a 3G, 4G hotspot. So yeah, somebody's got that up there, like it. So we're going to have a break sort of now. So if you can see me, get something set up. But yeah,
during my mobile Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so we'll get it sorted. Great. So questions for Paul?
Is it horribly expensive, or is it?
Actually, this got more expensive. I bought it in January 2014, and when I was pulling back, it was like, more. The basic model here is about 14,000, 15,000 now, and the cameras are 1,500, which are ridiculous, actually, because really, I think it's the fact that the only reason these guys get away with it is because Pix4D, the Swiss software company, are in the same building as the engineers, so the whole system is completely linked. I mean, you see there, that's just a Canon camera for 100 quid, but they'll stick a cable inside it.
They drilled a hole, stuck a cable, and put their own firmware on there.
None of this is as valuable as the operations manual that I use to validate the safety and sort of
So did you have to, so you basically did you have to actually, was that a
No one really
complicated,
asks to fly in cities and do work so often. And quadcopters don't, because the quadcopter's battery is what? This big?
Yeah.
And it lasts 15 minutes? It uses this big and lasts an hour.
Yeah.
Because it's only 500 grams, it's not like 5 kilos.
I'm presuming we had 5 and, yeah, because it's gliding as well. That's, yeah.
And of course, the other thing is that, well, I didn't mention it there, but it's this renaissance of photogrammetry, which is amazing. Removing objects and vehicles from the outputs is another reason I can't use it as a surveillance tool, except for the thermal camera, which has a yeah. But yeah, as I said, the price of the drone is nothing in comparison to the document that says this is what you do, this is why you're doing it, this is what makes you sick.
Is the flight path pre-programmed, or do you manually?
Yeah, we program it with software known as eMotion 2. I know there's at least one person in this room who knows what that is. There's another EV pilot in the room, but yeah, so it's eMotion 2 that you draw the surveying area, and then you decide things like the ground resolution, which determines the altitude as well, and then the overlap as well. So.
And for this is the stuff like GPS. Do you have to go to the 10 meter?
5-10 meters, or yeah, that's right. That's why when you tend to fly, you want to have a good bit of space. In Glasgow, we have lots of red ash pitches that never get used in ideal landing sites, and everyone's got lots of cars.
Does that mean the actual resolution of how the output is fixed in sort of 3D space? I mean, you've got, obviously, you can do your photogrammetry between the different parts of that, but your whole model, is it how
the standalone 3D output, if you don't use ground control points and don't have a total station, is going to be sort of 3 to 5 meters horizontal accuracy, with the vertical accuracy likely to be 1.5 times that. And the new model, RTK, is particularly awesome. Twice the price, but still awesome. And that you can get to a fixed georeferencing of 1 centimeter. And we're lucky enough that, when you're working with local authorities, like the Scottish Government, and have access to the master map, georeferencing on that is just as easy. And that's what we're doing with the Grangemouth survey, which is, I think, about 35 flights stitched together over about 25 square kilometers using the master map to georeference the whole thing. Yes?
I understand that safety is paramount when running a drone, which is why getting a license to operate one in the city is difficult. How difficult is that? And do you think that the process of getting that is going to be a barrier for further development of this industry?
I'd like it to be a barrier. I mean, if there's anything, there's too many hobbyists in this field that are ruining it. I had Police Scotland on my case 2 days ago because I had to drop the D word, a drone, and of course that's instant, must be a hobbyist with a quadcopter that's coming in to do that, and the first protocol is Police Scotland. We also don't even have a reporting tool for professional drone pilots, and that's one thing that we're looking to work on, to communicate when we're going to do an operation, we're either going to do visual line of sight, or as we have up here, extended visual line of sight, 1.5 kilometers away. But we need to be able to tell not just the controlled airspace, which is easy, you just phone them up, but other drone pilots. So actually, if we really want this industry to grow, we need to be able to manage the amount of drone pilots and be able to communicate between us so that we're not crashing into each other. And that's inevitably going to happen, unfortunately. But, yeah. It's good if it's strict laws. Yeah.
So that's a specific question. Are you actually building your own 3D models?
I really wish I had like a couple extra days. I've got my MacLab membership, and I really wanted to bring in the next generation of community mapping for me because, we use a lot of things with OpenStreetMap and we use a lot of digital hardware and stuff like that. I still love paper, but the idea of having a 3D printed community to bring and say, right, here's a bunch of pens, photos, marker pens, it would be amazing. And that definitely is going to happen. Probably just in time for Christmas for people.
Can we have a layer of some of your imagery that we can do some mapping from? So, for example, from Edinburgh, you get that up somewhere that we could, especially for things like the new buildings and stuff that
Yeah, no, that's a really good idea.
Would be lovely to
And
have
I
that as a
think
source.
we have another project, Alba 3D, where we want to kind of revolutionize what open aerial imagery is all about. So if what is valuable to us is 1.5, 3 centimeter, 5 centimeter resolution, then we're looking into downgrading it to maybe 25, 50, and releasing that. And we'll start putting together a coverage map for that next year.
Lovely.
And the digital service.
More questions?
Yeah.
So it's obviously great considering and it's very fine resolution. How useful is it if you use the countryside or land? And I'm thinking of two things. One is getting terrain models for mountains that are very detailed and climbers. I'm also thinking about areas in rural areas where you don't necessarily have access on the foot or
No, that's absolutely a great application. I'm looking at the Glen Sheet to be the first 3D piece now, because that's where I'm from. So I have who's closest to me first. But yeah, no, that's exactly the kind of thing that we want to look into, because a lot of that is to do with safety as well. And also the ability to use drones to quickly capture imagery after someone's gone missing, for example, as well. Saves a lot.
what's the maximum wind speed that you can cope with?
What the Swiss say or what I've done? I've flown in winds of 32 miles an hour with gusts of up to 35. Sensible, I recommend it at about 28 miles an hour. Those are the kind of features that are just going to keep going up and up. As battery life from lithium polymer batteries improve, as the equipment improves itself, all of that will change. Yes.
Actually, look at this. A lorry has just driven away with squeaky waffles. It might come back.
3D edible city.
Just curious, does it take a lot of this processing to stitch the images together?
Even though it's not. We're based at the Inland Centre for Carbon Innovation. I've known Andy for a long time, and I'm very much part of the low carbon sort of society, but I love just showing him the spikes on energy use of that building over the weekend, including this weekend when we do all the encouragement stuff. It takes, we couldn't buy a computer that was good enough, and I love the fact that Apple was basically ignored by a huge chunk of the GIS industry, so we have to go to overclockers and build our own 2 super beasts to handle it with 64 gig RAM. It sings when it starts going. It's a lot. But actually, that's because we're doing massive data sets. I've got a low surface, and even this laptop, today, a basic flight in the afternoon, small 20 minutes, will be able to process everything within a couple of hours.
Okay, that's everyone. We've got a break now, so I think there should be coffee around the corner there and tea. And we'll come back in about a quarter of an hour. All right, yeah, 11:45. Great, thanks. Hi, good. Yeah, I was going to mention that he's made me, but well, I'm alright, yeah. I was here yesterday, that was good as well, yeah. It was really, I think you were really I watched Phoebus did great. Well, you can see it here. Oh, yeah. But it was, Chris had bought a lovely stand and a lovely camera, and it just didn't work.
Well, the thing is, the quality was like, the picture quality was really nice from the camera, but the sound just wasn't working.
Exactly.
So I've ended up, it actually looks pretty good. I mean,
it's better than here.
And 7 people watching at the moment, 6 people watching, we've just lost someone.
Well, have a bunch of breaks.
I just did say we were about to have a break for 15 minutes. So, what am I doing?
Yeah, just test out.